Part 118. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1172. Xuanhuan continent is a vast land. A middle-aged man came on a black Hot Wheel, going extremely fast. Finally escaped. Xuanhuan finally landed on the ground. He couldn't help but sigh and said, Lao Ao, really escaped from death. Before thinking about it, he was scared for a while. At that time, in Jindi Mountain, when the immortal land reappeared, the stopper appeared, and no one in the world could understand it. At that time, Xuanhuan also felt that he was finished. However, what I didn't expect was that the master dance actually let him take action to remove the black rose on the steps of time. Xuanhuan was panicking at the time, but under the deception of the dancing master, he fought hard. He actually took the stopper's black rose away. After getting the black rose, he ran away without hesitation and tried his best. At that time, Xuanhuan simply felt that he was dying. However, he actually escaped unscathed. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but stop and entered his own Taoist scenery. Dancing master, are you okay? He was a little uneasy. In the Taoist scene, the master dancer was lying on a chair, his whole body was dying, as if he was about to die of old age. The Thunder Emperor and the Water Emperor were giving the massage to the Master Tiao master respectfully, and their service was extremely considerate. Now, they are really convinced. They personally saw the great master dancing and displaying supreme magical powers. The immortal land reappears, and the silent one who guards the dark immortal path appears. This is an unimaginable change. At that time, the whole world was stagnant and no one could move. However, only the great god of Tiao was walking on flat ground without being affected at all, and he actually understood the path that surpassed those who stopped. The god of Tiao used his true magical power to help Xuanhuan step into the fairy land with the power of two souls and take away the dark rose. Moreover, every step he took was surrounded by traces of time and space, blocking the stopper's pursuit. All this is simply incredible. The dancing master is really very strong. It was just two souls, but Zhe suffered a big loss. However, the one who dances to the great gods is also the I Ching. The fire started in the mountains. More and more people arrived, and many strong men were filled with emotion when they saw the barren mountains ahead. Once upon a time, this was the origin of human fire. It was so prosperous, but now it has become a barren land without even a trace of life. During that war, there was a strong man in the darkness who struck from afar and destroyed everything here. The Holy Spirit Divine Fire Sutra has reappeared. There must have been incredible changes deep in this mountain. There was not even a single blade of grass or even an ant left in the Shiwo mountain. It looked as if all life had been cut off. Small village. In the morning, Li Fan woke up drowsily. Perhaps because of the ancient time that consumed him a lot yesterday, he got up quite late today. After walking out of the small courtyard, Gongya attentively helped Li Fan wash up. The words Long Xuanhuan, Duguyuking, Wu Dade, and Subakian came back, which made Li Fan have a good appetite, and he also ate more of the porridge made by Gongya. Master, what is fire in the world? After breakfast, Duguyuking suddenly spoke, looked at Li Fan and asked. Last night, although they were in a dream, they still reached the realm of immortality. Long Xuanhuan planted the martial arts Tianxin lotus, Duguyuking planted the unquenchable fire tree, and Wu Dade also planted the molten gold ancestral tree. Now, they are about to enter the next realm, divine fire. And the divine fire requires those who take the forbidden path to ignite the human fire. The fire in the world is the fire of faith that can guide people in the world to move forward. If it is said that to breathe soil, to remove water, and to grow trees, you only need to follow the step-by-step process, obtain the corresponding soil, dig out the ocean water, and plant fairy seeds, and then you can proceed. Then starting from the realm of divine fire, you need to realize it. It is very important to be able to understand the true meaning of human fire. Only by igniting the fire of the world can we use the fire of the world to cast the palace of life. Therefore, they all looked at Li Fan. When Li Fan heard this, he paused slightly and said, "The fire of faith. Xuanhuan continent is a vast land. A middle-aged man came on a black hot wheel, going extremely fast. Finally escaped. Xuanhuan finally landed on the ground. He couldn't help but sigh and said, I, Lao Ao, really escaped from death." Before thinking about it, he was scared for a while. At that time, in Jindi Mountain, when the immortal land reappeared, the stopper appeared, and no one in the world could understand it. At that time, Xuanhuan also felt that he was finished. However, what I didn't expect was that the master dance actually let him take action to remove the black rose on the steps of time. Xuanhuan was panicking at the time, but under the deception of the dancing master, he fought hard. He actually took the stopper's black rose away. After getting the black rose, he ran away without hesitation and tried his best. At that time, Xuanhuan simply felt that he was dying. However, he actually escaped unscathed. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but stop and entered his own Taoist scenery. "Dancing master, are you okay?" He was a little uneasy. In the Taoist scene, the master dancer was lying on a chair, his whole body was dying, as if he was about to die of old age. The Thunder Emperor and the Water Emperor were giving the massage to the Master Tiao master respectfully, and their service was extremely considerate. Now, they are really convinced. They personally saw the great master dancing and displaying supreme magical powers. The immortal land reappears, and the silent one who guards the dark immortal path appears. This is an unimaginable change. At that time, the whole world was stagnant and no one could move. However, only the great god of Tiao was walking on flat ground without being affected at all, and he actually understood the path that surpassed those who stopped. The god of Tiao used his true magical power to help Xuanhuan step into the fairy land with the power of two souls and take away the dark rose. Moreover, every step he took was surrounded by traces of time and space, blocking the stopper's pursuit. All this is simply incredible. The dancing master is really very strong. It was just two souls, but Zhizhe suffered a big loss. However, the one who dances to the great gods is also the I Ching. The fire started in the mountains. More and more people arrived, and many strong men were filled with emotion when they saw the barren mountains ahead. Once upon a time, this was the origin of human fire. It was so prosperous, but now it has become a barren land without even a trace of life. During that war, there was a strong man in the darkness who struck from afar and destroyed everything here. The Holy Spirit Divine Fire Sutra has reappeared. There must have been incredible changes deep in this mountain. There was not even a single blade of grass or even an ant left in the Shiwo mountain. It looked as if all life had been cut off. Small village. In the morning, Li Fan woke up drowsily. Perhaps because of the ancient time that consumed him a lot yesterday, he got up quite late today. After walking out of the small courtyard, Gongya attentively helped Li Fan wash up. The words Long Zixuan, Duguyuking, Wu Dade, and Subakian came back, which made Li Fan have a good appetite, and he also ate more of the porridge made by Gongya. "Master, what is fire in the world?" After breakfast, Duguyuking suddenly spoke, looked at Li Fan and asked. Last night, although they were in a dream, they still reached the realm of immortality. Long Zixuan planted the martial arts Tianxin lotus, Duguyuking planted the unquenchable fire tree, and Wu Dade also planted the molten gold ancestral tree. Now, they are about to enter the next realm, divine fire. And the divine fire requires those who take the forbidden path to ignite the human fire. Human fire is the fire of faith that can guide people in the world to move forward. If it is said that to breathe soil, to remove water, and to grow trees, you only need to follow the step-by-step process, obtain the corresponding soil, dig out the ocean water, and plant fairy seeds, and then you can proceed. Then starting from the realm of divine fire, you need to realize it. It is very important to be able to understand the true meaning of human fire. Only by igniting the fire of the world can we use the fire of the world to cast the palace of life. Therefore, they all looked at Li Fan. When Li Fan heard this, he paused slightly and said, "The fire of faith. Xuanhuan continent is a vast land." A middle-aged man came on a black Hot Wheel, going extremely fast. Finally escaped. Xuanhuan finally landed on the ground. He couldn't help but sigh and said, Lao Ao, really escaped from death. Before thinking about it, he was scared for a while. At that time, in Jindi Mountain, when the immortal land reappeared, the stopper appeared, and no one in the world could understand it. At that time, Xuanhuan also felt that he was finished. However, what I didn't expect was that the master dance actually let him take action to remove the black rose on the steps of time. Xuanhuan was panicking at the time, but under the deception of the dancing master, he fought hard. He actually took the stopper's black rose away. After getting the black rose, he ran away without hesitation and tried his best. At that time, Xuanhuan simply felt that he was dying. However, he actually escaped unscathed. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but stop and entered his own Taoist scenery. "Dancing master, are you okay?" He was a little uneasy. In the Taoist scene, the master dancer was lying on a chair, his whole body was dying, as if he was about to die of old age. The Thunder Emperor and the Water Emperor were giving the massage to the Master Tiao master respectfully, and their service was extremely considerate. Now, they are really convinced. They personally saw the great master dancing and displaying supreme magical powers. The immortal land reappears, and the silent one who guards the dark immortal path appears. This is an unimaginable change. At that time, the whole world was stagnant and no one could move. However, only the great god of Tiao was walking on flat ground without being affected at all, and he actually understood the path that surpassed those who stopped. The god of Tiao used his true magical power to help Xuanhuan step into the fairy land with the power of two souls and take away the dark rose. Moreover, every step he took was surrounded by traces of time and space, blocking the stopper's pursuit. All this is simply incredible. The dancing master is really very strong. It was just two souls, but Zhizhe suffered a big loss. However, the one who dances to the great gods is also the I Ching. The fire started in the mountains. More and more people arrived, and many strong men were filled with emotion when they saw the barren mountains ahead. Once upon a time, this was the origin of human fire. It was so prosperous, but now it has become a barren land without even a trace of life. During that war, there was a strong man in the darkness who struck from afar and destroyed everything here. The Holy Spirit Divine Fire Sutra has reappeared. There must have been incredible changes deep in this mountain. There was not even a single blade of grass or even an ant left in the Shiwo mountain. It looked as if all life had been cut off. Small village. In the morning, Li Fan woke up drowsily. Perhaps because of the ancient time that consumed him a lot yesterday, he got up quite late today. After walking out of the small courtyard, Gongya attentively helped Li Fan wash up. The words Long Zixuan, Zhuguyuking, Wu Dade, and Subakian came back, which made Li Fan have a good appetite, and he also ate more of the porridge made by Gongya. "Master, what is fire in the world?" After breakfast, Zhuguyuking suddenly spoke, looked at Li Fan and asked. Last night, although they were in a dream, they still reached the realm of immortality. Long Zixuan planted the martial arts Tianxin lotus, Zhuguyuking planted the unquenchable fire tree, and Wu Dade also planted the molten gold ancestral tree. Now, they are about to enter the next realm, divine fire. And the divine fire requires those who take the forbidden path to ignite the human fire. Human fire is the fire of faith that can guide people in the world to move forward. If it is said that to breathe soil, to remove water, and to grow trees, you only need to follow the step-by-step process, obtain the corresponding soil, dig out the ocean water, and plant fairy seeds, and then you can proceed, then starting from the realm of divine fire, you need to realize it. It is very important to be able to understand the true meaning of human fire. Only by igniting the fire of the world can we use the fire of the world to cast the palace of life. Therefore, they all looked at Li Fan. When Li Fan heard this, he paused slightly and said, "The fire of faith. Xuanhuan continent is a vast land. A middle-aged man came on a black hot wheel, going extremely fast. Finally escaped. Xuanhuan finally landed on the ground. He couldn't help but sigh and said, Lao Ao, really escaped from death." Before thinking about it, he was scared for a while. At that time, in Jindi Mountain, when the immortal land reappeared, the stopper appeared, and no one in the world could understand it. At that time, Xuanhuan also felt that he was finished. However, what I didn't expect was that the master dance actually let him take action to remove the black rose on the steps of time. Xuanhuan was panicking at the time, but under the deception of the dancing master, he fought hard. He actually took the stopper's black rose away. After getting the black rose, he ran away without hesitation and tried his best. At that time, Xuanhuan simply felt that he was dying. However, he actually escaped unscathed. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but stop and entered his own Taoist scenery. "Dancing master, are you okay?" He was a little uneasy. In the Taoist scene, the master dancer was lying on a chair, his whole body was dying, as if he was about to die of old age. The Thunder Emperor and the Water Emperor were giving the massage to the Master Tiao master respectfully, and their service was extremely considerate. Now, they are really convinced. They personally saw the great master dancing and displaying supreme magical powers. The immortal land reappears, and the silent one who guards the dark immortal path appears. This is an unimaginable change. At that time, the whole world was stagnant and no one could move. However, only the great god of Tiao was walking on flat ground without being affected at all, and he actually understood the path that surpassed those who stopped. The god of Tiao used his true magical power to help Xuanhuan step into the fairy land with the power of two souls and take away the dark rose. Moreover, every step he took was surrounded by traces of time and space, blocking the stopper's pursuit. All this is simply incredible. The dancing master is really very strong. It was just two souls, but Zhizhe suffered a big loss. However, the one who dances to the great gods is also the I Ching. The fire started in the mountains. More and more people arrived, and many strong men were filled with emotion when they saw the barren mountains ahead. Once upon a time, this was the origin of human fire. It was so prosperous, but now it has become a barren land without even a trace of life. During that war, there was a strong man in the darkness who struck from afar and destroyed everything here. The Holy Spirit Divine Fire Sutra has reappeared. There must have been incredible changes deep in this mountain. There was not even a single blade of grass or even an ant left in the Shiwo mountain. It looked as if all life had been cut off. Small village. In the morning, Li Fan woke up drowsily. Perhaps because of the ancient time that consumed him a lot yesterday, he got up quite late today. After walking out of the small courtyard, Gongya attentively helped Li Fan wash up. The words Long Zixuan, Duguyuking, Wu Dade, and Subakian came back, which made Li Fan have a good appetite, and he also ate more of the porridge made by Gongya. "Master, what is fire in the world?" After breakfast, Duguyuking suddenly spoke, looked at Li Fan and asked. Last night, although they were in a dream, they still reached the realm of immortality. Long Xuanhuan planted the martial arts Tianxin lotus, Zhuge Yuqing planted the unquenchable fire tree, and Wu Date also planted the molten gold ancestral tree. Now, they are about to enter the next realm, divine fire. And the divine fire requires those who take the forbidden path to ignite the human fire. Human fire is the fire of faith that can guide people in the world to move forward. If it is said that to breathe soil, to remove water, and to grow trees, you only need to follow the step-by-step process, obtain the corresponding soil, dig out the vast ocean water, and plant fairy seeds, and then you can proceed. Then starting from the realm of divine fire, you need to realize it. It is very important to be able to understand the true meaning of human fire. Only by igniting the fire of the world can we use the fire of the world to cast the palace of life. Therefore, they all looked at Li Fan. When Li Fan heard this, he paused slightly and said, "The fire of faith. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert." Author, Gui Xin. Chapter 1173. It started in the mountain of fire, before the barrier. Just when the little saints were arguing fiercely about which way can ignite the fire in the world, the breath of darkness has arrived. In the valley, all the cultivators who followed felt palpitations and uneasiness at this moment. Everyone gathered their eyes and saw a middle-aged man in black robe approaching. Beside him, there were 3 other dark powerhouses, 2 women and 1 man. The man was a fat man, looking at the many cultivators in the field with a look of covetousness. No. Those 2 women they are, Fire Emperor and Wood Emperor. Suddenly, an older cultivator spoke in shock, looking at the Dark Fire Emperor and the Dark Wood Emperor in disbelief. "It's really them, I have seen their portraits. Didn't they already die in the darkness? Why did they appear again? No, their condition is wrong. What's around them is the source of darkness. Could it be that they were eroded by darkness and became dark creatures?" For a time, everyone was talking about it. The Dark Fire Emperor and the Dark Wood Emperor reappeared, which was simply shocking. People who once died are alive through darkness. The 3 little saints sitting by the campfire discussing Taoism were also very surprised at this moment. "Darkness is coming, you are the creatures that come from the darkness." Zhu Meng spoke warily. "What are you doing here?" Han Zhenfa asked with fear. All 3 of them felt tremendous pressure. After all, these are the 4 dark emperors. Not to mention just them, even if the emperor of the forbidden world comes, they can only bow their heads. And Mo Zheng looked at them, smiled slightly, and said, "Don't be afraid, I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to save you." His words were very soft, but at this moment, they were like a mist that could penetrate into the soul, making everyone unable to help but listen to him. Benevolence. Benevolence, righteousness, and morality come from the heart of compassion, but what if there is no compassion? Mo Zheng smiled slightly and said, "What can benevolence bring to the world? As a great emperor, if you think of it and destroy all the people, does it have anything to do with whether you are benevolent or not? If I am the strongest, why should I be benevolent? I can do whatever I want without restraint, who can control me? The so-called benevolence is just a way of comforting the ants at the bottom." He stretched out his hand a little and saw different pictures appearing around Zhu Meng. He was a down-and-out Confucian scholar whose mind was clouded by the principles of benevolence, justice, etiquette, and wisdom. He did nothing in his life, only indulged in moral articles, and was impoverished. His greatest pleasure was to show that he knew how to write fennel beans. That is a celebrity who talks about morality and shame. While shouting about the desire to destroy others, he touches his daughter-in-law like a hungry ghost in lust. It was the time when ethics and education were at their peak, and a gray-haired old man went crazy because he had planted a tree. At this moment, Mo Zheng is deducing. He used some kind of secret technique of cause and effect to let Zhu Meng see his own theory of benevolence, justice, etiquette, and what he called the scene when the world shows blood. No. At this moment, Zhu Meng held his head in pain and roared. This is definitely not my original intention. I set up benevolence to save the world, but this is clearly poisonous for the ages and harmful to all living beings. His Taoist heart collapsed at this moment. Follow me and I will tell you what the real future is. Mo Zheng was like a loving father, putting his hand on Zhu Meng's head. At this moment, Zhu Meng suddenly became quiet. He seemed to have become a puppet, silently following Mo Zheng. Mo Zheng smiled, then looked at Han Zhenfa and said, "Law. I really don't know why so many people are willing to follow you. Laws are made by people. Those who formulate laws and orders, are they for the sake of the common people in the world? Wrong, it is just to ensure that oneself will last for thousands of years and the imperial power will be eternal. Laws and rules are just ropes used by the strong to tame the weak. They are not much better than benevolence, righteousness, and morality." He waved his hand, and Han Zhenfa was suddenly forced to kneel on the ground by him. Mo Zheng said coldly, "Now, I set a law. You are born to be humble. You are born to kneel. If you see me kneeling, it is a law. If you don't obey, you will be killed. After 1,000 years, will your descendants still be able to stand up? Even if God gives them a chance to stand up, they will kneel down on their own. Because I have been kneeling for a long time, it has penetrated deep into my bones. Ruling the world with laws is nothing more than giving people authority. The world you created is essentially the law of the jungle and the strong. You can't punish the great officials. Is this worthy of igniting the fire of the world?" Mo Zheng's words were like thunder, and Han Zhenfa suddenly vomited blood. He turned pale and murmured, "In this way, I will become a sinner for the ages. I will kill myself and harm my descendants. I will harm my descendants." His heart was broken and he knelt down. In the blink of an eye, he, like Zhu Meng, had been defeated by Mo Zheng. But at this time, Su Mo smiled slightly and said, "You can't beat me because I'm after the truth. Rhinology, law and law are all rotten human studies. In essence, people enslave people. The world created must be one where the upper class is extravagant and lustful, and the lower class is frozen to death. Dynasties go back and forth, and no one can escape. A vicious cycle. But my study of nature is different. One is one, air is air, and water is water. No one can confuse black and white or confuse right and wrong in the study of nature. This is pure knowledge." Mo Zheng smiled slightly and said, "You are right. I haven't tempered your interest, because people like you can't survive. The ones who can control the world are those who are proficient in using benevolence, science, and law to control the world's creatures. And you? Seeking truth? Seeking truth will kill people. Just rely on the emperors and generals of the forbidden world, will they give you soil? If you want to carry forward your knowledge, you are destined to go to the Dark Dome, because there, no one will teach you how to behave, and no one will target you because you don't know how to behave. Even if you are a lunatic, will be accepted. In the vault of darkness, wisdom is more important than emotional intelligence." Hearing this, Su Mo pondered for a moment and said, "You're right. Wish to go to the dark sky." He saluted Mo Zheng. In the blink of an eye, Mo Zheng had defeated the three little saints. Zhu Meng and Han Zhenfa, who studied benevolence and law, were vulnerable to him, but Su Mo needed the soil he provided. Total defeat. The science of benevolence has collapsed. No. Isn't it possible for the discipline of law to ignite the fire of humanity? Which way? At this moment, countless cultivators and believers who had followed the arrival of the three little saints were confused and fell into doubt. They all told me to eat to my heart's content first, but look at you, you've broken their Taoist hearts. People who have no faith have meat that smells stinky. Next to him, MaleProtagonist casually grabbed a few cultivators and chewed them while speaking in disgust. The more firmly a person believes, the more chewy his bones will be. This has nothing to do with what he believes in. Even if he believes in a stone, as long as this belief reaches a pure state, this stone will also produce wonderful power in people. But now, the Taoist hearts of these believers have collapsed, which makes MaleProtagonist dislike them very much. Human fire. Mo Zheng, on the other hand, smiled at the moment. He looked at the bonfire that had gone cold and said, "Fire goes against the laws of the universe and is an unclean thing." He looked at the Dark Fire Emperor and the Dark Wood Emperor and said, "Be a fire extinguisher." The Dark Fire Emperor was wearing a long black dress. She looked at the many cultivators in the field indifferently, and then waved her hand, and the dark mist was about to corrode all life. "No. I don't want to go into the darkness. Even if benevolence and law are both wrong, we should continue to search. Once shrouded in darkness, we really can't find the final answer. Run away, everyone who is following you today is a kind of fire. Go out and leave your thoughts behind. One day, you will still find a chance to ignite the fire in the world." Many people shouted to flee. It's a pity that in front of the Dark Fire Emperor, these people are like ants, with no chance at all. But, right now, the fire is not extinguished, the fire is still there. A clear female voice suddenly sounded, and suddenly there was a huge palace, and its shadow was projected out, covering everyone in the field. Even the fog of darkness couldn't corrode it. I saw two girls coming side by side on the other side of the valley. One of them was wearing a fiery red dress, and she was holding a wooden palace in her hand. There are 4 small characters on the palace. Li Tianqian Palace. The garbled characters updated yesterday are repeated. Kidian, QQ Reading, and QQ Browser have been adjusted and synchronized. If there are duplicates, please reload them. Midu and many readers need to wait for a while to synchronize due to technical reasons. Alas, I have been having a lot of minor problems recently, and I am also exhausted both physically and mentally. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1174. The fire started in the mountains. Just when all the fires were about to be extinguished, an illusory palace protected everyone, and even the darkness could not be eroded. Everyone turned their heads in unison. Everyone was shocked when they saw the 2 girls coming from the entrance of the valley. Fire Emperor. Fire Emperor and Wood Emperor, are they reborn? They are not bodies of darkness resurrected from the darkness. It's really the Fire Emperor and the Wood Emperor. What happened in this life? There was a lot of discussion, and many of them got excited and knelt down directly towards the Fire Emperor and the Wood Emperor. These 2 people are surprisingly Huolinger and Mu Wanking. After they left the fairyland, they came all the way here. Huolinger took action only after seeing the Dark Fire Emperor take action and annihilate everyone. The wooden palace in her hand was carved and gifted to her by Li Fan when she was in the underworld and the Xiantian world. Over the years, this has always been her greatest reliance, no matter whether she has experienced the Holy Dao era, the Shinto Yang realm, or the Chaos Ancestral realm. When the Dark Fire Emperor, Darkwood Emperor and others saw the appearance of Huolinger and Mu Wanking, their expressions were extremely cold. Odd number. The Dark Fire Emperor swayed his long skirt, looked at Huolinger, and said, "You are the evil thought of life and should not reappear in the long river of cause and effect." Huolinger looked at the Dark Fire Emperor and said calmly, "You have become a slave of darkness." The Darkwood Emperor also stepped forward and said coldly, "Dark slave. Darkness is the law of the universe. Only by complying with darkness can you gain true freedom. Xuanhuan confronted the Darkwood Emperor and said, "Countless years ago, the fire in the world was lit, driving away the darkness and bringing light to the years. Darkness is not eternal, and the fire and moon of life are not instantaneous fireworks." The Darkwood Emperor said coldly, "It's useless to talk more. I'll give you death." She's about to take action. However, at this moment, Mo Zheng smiled and said, "Wait a minute." He looked at Huo Linger and Xuanhuan and said, "Wouldn't it be a pity to kill such a peerless beauty? Only by saving them can we give them a true destination." Mo Zheng walked forward, stared at the wooden sculpture in Huo Linger's hand, and said, "You too, if the treasure in your hands is correct, should it be given by a certain powerful person? It seems that there are real strong people behind you. Is this the reason for your coming?" Mo Zheng smiled. He was very keen and noticed that Huo Linger and Xuanhuan had a great origin in this life. He even vaguely thought of a possibility. But, that's not important. What he wants to do, is to convert. Even if Huo Linger and Xuanhuan are really related to that person, saving them is not a kind of harm. If he really saves these two people, even that person, won't be angry because of it. You know, darkness is the destination of all life. After your death, you followed the darkness and gained great freedom. In addition, the former Xuantian Emperor, even the end of 10,000 paths, even that one, have all returned to darkness. You are the lost sheep. As he spoke, he used some great technique to project a certain scene. It was deep in the dark dome, on a certain dark star, an imperial court of the dead. A dark emperor with only one arm left standing in the dark imperial court, that was the war emperor. It was a dark country on the floating soil of the universe. Fallen fairies, rotten saints, corrupt gods, incomplete ancient beasts of chaos, etc., walked in the darkness, and thousands of ways gathered in the sky above the world. These scenes made Huo Linger and Xuanhuan look shocked. The former Xuantian Emperor's court, Xuantian Emperor, etc., and even the end of 10,000 paths. Have they really all fallen into darkness? Could it be that darkness is really the destination of all living things? As for that person, I dare not reflect his figure in the dark throne, but darkness is also his destination for him. Mo Zheng smiled and spoke. However, as soon as he finished speaking, a voice suddenly came. "Hum, your mother hummer." As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere created by Mo Zheng's mind-sewing technique seemed to be broken instantly. Mo Zheng couldn't help but frown slightly, and saw a monk and a farmer walking deep in the valley. The farmer also held a pot of grass in his hand. Seeing these two people, Huo Linger and Xuanhuan were immediately overjoyed. "Master Qing Chen, Master Lu." They were very happy. They never expected to see Qing Chen and Lu Rang here. These two, must be delicious. Mo Tai licked his tongue, his eyes shining. "Girl Fire, Miss Wood, this guy is deceiving everyone with his evil words, let me deal with him." Qing Chen was very direct, looked at Mo Zheng, and shouted. "How dare you, you evil beast! I can tell at a glance that you are not a human being, yet you dare to do anything in front of me." Mo Zheng narrowed his eyes. He had been practicing the art of Gu Mind for many years, but at this moment, he couldn't see through the monk in front of him. As the saying goes, only by knowing oneself and knowing oneself can one be victorious in every battle. The most important reason why he can win many battles with his Gu Mind trick is that he can quickly see into people's hearts. By taking advantage of people's fears and desires, they can naturally easily defeat every unruly soul. But, this monk doesn't know the depth. However, the more this kind of person is, the more helpful his Gu Mind technique will be after being converted. It might even allow him to go to the extreme and realize the silent path. He immediately smiled, looked at Qing Chen, and said, The four elements are all empty and cannot ignite the fire of the world. Your rules and regulations can restrain yourself, but they cannot restrain the world. He was ready to begin to transform into a pure being. To convert a person, you first need to understand hundreds of his original concepts. Qing Chen is a monk, and what he believes in is nothing more than the bald donkey thing. Qing Chen said, "Well, you're right, so I eat meat and drink wine, and I don't avoid women, and I don't avoid killing. I have no precepts." Mo Zheng. He was suddenly speechless. What the hell is going on here? Over the years, he has met too many wise men, but the wiser the person, the more independent his thinking is, and they usually have to fight. As a result, this monk just goes along with his own words. A meat monk? He considered and continued. The so-called detachment and escape, the so-called other shore and pure land are just illusory sustenance. The reality is full of suffering. How can you survive this world? Qing Chen said. You're right, there is no other shore, no pure land, and the people in the world can't cross it. Therefore, you have to wash out a piece of pure land with blood, and hire someone to cast a side of the other side. If you can't cross it, just kill them all. Silent struggle. He was simply suspicious. What on earth was this monk doing? Is this a monk? Devils don't even have such cruel ideas. Let's put it bluntly, darkness is the destination of all life. Mo Zheng couldn't help it anymore and got straight to the point. Qing Chen nodded. More than that, the emergence of life is simply a blasphemy against the universe. Hearing these words, Mo Zheng was shocked in his heart. He looked at Qing Chen, a little surprised, because these words came from a certain supreme being in the dark sky. Life is a blasphemy to the universe. Hey, could it be that I made a mistake? This monk is actually a member of the Dark Vault. For the universe, life is not worth mentioning. It violates the laws of heaven and earth. It is simply unforgivable. If you want to comply with the universe, you must throw yourself into the darkness. Qing Chen continued to speak. You're right. Mo Zheng couldn't help but nodded and said. So, let darkness fill the world and let all life die. However, Qing Chen shook his head and said. No, you are wrong. Mo Zheng wondered, am I wrong? Qing Chen nodded and said. You are indeed wrong, because you are just a fart. Mo Zheng said angrily. What did you say? Qing Chen said. For the universe, life is nothing. Even though you are the emperor, before the laws of the universe, you are just as insignificant as a fart, right? In this sense, you are just a fart and an ant. Is something not worth mentioning? Mo Zheng's face turned red again and again, but Qing Chen's words made him unable to refute at all, so he could only say. Although the logic is good, but the metaphor stinks. Qing Chen continued. That's right, you are a piece of shit, an ant, and you actually try to act on behalf of the universe. Do you know that your existence is also a blasphemy to the universe? Dark life is also life. The life in the forbidden world is a bird living in the sun, and you are a mosquito living in the darkness. But you, a mosquito in the darkness, dare to be arrogant and act on behalf of the universe? Isn't that right? What a weird thing. Qing Chen patted Mo Zheng on the shoulder and said. Brother, life is a blasphemy to the universe. Your existence is simply a shame. Besides, it's not just you who is humiliated, but also your mother and your father. It doesn't matter if you are alive, why did you give birth to a thing like you? Your life is the original sin, you really deserve to die. Your whole family deserves to die. Suicide, use death to restore innocence to the universe, be brave. Qing Chen's voice was as loud as a yellow bell. Mo Zheng, on the other hand, was completely confused. In his heart, he felt conflicts erupting, and the laws of the universe that he adhered to were throbbing. Am I really wrong, to use death to restore innocence to the universe. He subconsciously raised his hand. At this moment, he felt completely hopeless and just wanted to die. He wants to commit suicide. But, at this moment, he suddenly felt something pull him hard, and Motai jumped up and gave him 2 big slaps in the face, cursing. "Damn it, are you crazy? Want to commit suicide? You have always been the only one who deceived others, and today you are actually deceived by others." Hearing this, Mo Zheng nodded and said, "Senior brother Motai, you are right." Motai then relaxed, nodded, and said, "You almost fell into his trap." But as soon as he finished speaking, Mo Zheng suddenly slapped him hard on the chest. Immediately, Motai flew backwards, vomiting blood, and cursed angrily. "Are you crazy?" Mo Zheng said in a ferocious voice, "You're right, I'm crazy. I want to kill you, starting from you, to restore the innocence of the universe." When Motai heard this, his eyes straightened. He suddenly turned his head, looked at Qing Chen not far away, and said, "You, what the hell did you give my senior brother?" Even Lu Rang couldn't help but look complicated at this moment and said, "The monk's deception skills turned out to be getting stronger. He actually saved a great emperor. Good night." Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Goi Xin. Chapter 1175. The fire started in the mountains. Motai kindly came to the rescue, but was turned back and injured by Mo Zheng, which shocked everyone. "Mo Zheng, wake up, you are the one who is cheating, you are the one who practices the art of bewitching the mind, how can you let others be bewitched?" Motai shouted, trying to wake Mo Zheng up. However, Mo Zheng said ferociously, "Shut up, you unclean being. Your appearance is a blasphemy to the universe. Dark beings must be punished." After saying that, he charged towards Motai again. "Crazy, crazy, absolutely crazy." Motai shouted loudly and said, "Fire Emperor Mu Emperor, save me quickly." He has now been severely injured by Mo Zheng's sneak attack, and he is no longer Mo Zheng's opponent head-on. The Dark Fire Emperor and the Wood Emperor also hurriedly stepped forward to stop him. On the other side, Huo Ling and Mu Wanqing were both extremely shocked. How on earth is this done? That's a Dark Emperor. They simply felt incomprehensible. A cultivator who has not even completed the 5 elements realm, deceived a great emperor and became his puppet and believer? If you tell me this, who will believe it? Lu Rang said, "It seems like this dark dome is not that good. Throw the monk over there. In a few years, won't everyone there become his followers?" But Qing Chen shook his head, smiled slightly, and said, "Senior brother Lu Rang, you are wrong. The reason why I was able to save him was because he wanted to save me. When he wanted to save me, he actually gave me an opportunity to save him. It just so happened that the Zen method taught by Master could make the best of the situation and make him fall into the trap of self-awareness." In just a short moment, in the eyes of others, Qing Chen and Mo Zheng were just exchanging a few words, but in fact, both of them were operating their own skills to the extreme. Mo Zheng's Gu Mind technique is a full-scale attack. As long as Qing Chen has a flaw in his heart, he will not be able to withstand Mo Zheng's degree of transformation. It can be said that in terms of realm, Qing Chen was originally at an absolute disadvantage, but his opponent had already mastered the art of Gu Mind. But what he didn't expect was that Qing Chen was actually watertight, and there really wasn't a single flaw left for him. When his attack failed, Qing Chen's Zen method started to attack at the same time, such as closed-mouth Zen, debate Zen, etc., and quietly dominated the silent struggles Gu Mind technique. Therefore, rather than saying that Qing Chen saved him, it is better to say that he saved himself. Anyway, I was deceived. Lu Rang spoke and said, "But, what should we do now? The three little saints have allowed these guys to make the Taoist heart collapse. The fire of the world cannot be ignited, and we will not be able to get the lamp of origin in the barrier. Qing Chen said calmly. The human fire ears, of course, can be ignited. After saying that, he walked forward. At this moment, countless rays of light suddenly emanated from his side. He was like the Buddha above the nine heavens, like a holy monk who transcended everything. Benevolence believes in the gentleman. The gentleman is far away but his selfish desires are close. Therefore, hypocrisy will eventually be born and morality and etiquette will become a cannibal. The legal school believes in good creation and attempts to seek prosperity through the hand of the law. It is just giving people the power to make the superiors prey on the common people. But why should we believe in saints and gentlemen, and should we believe in good masters of the country? Qing Chen was speaking, and every word he spoke seemed to possess a strange magic power. Around him, in the thousands of rays of light, endless pictures evolved. They were the struggle of the common people, the reincarnation of historical cycles, and endless scenes. People can escape, but the prosperity of the people will be miserable, and the destruction of the people will be miserable. Whether you believe in gentlemen and saints, whether you believe in good teachers, whether you seek help from sage kings, or place your trust in immortal emperors, you are just putting your destiny in the hands of others. Gentlemen are rare, and good work is hard to find. You must know that there is endless suffering in this world, and you can only go through it yourself. At this moment, in the valley, countless believers who followed Han Zhenfa, Zhu Meng, and others were listening and comprehending, and King Chen's words were inspiring. Yes, there is no savior, no fairy emperor, you can only save yourself. Stand up. Only when everyone stands up and does not rely on heroes or sages, only when everyone stands up can we break the cycle of fate and resist the cycle of cycles. We hope to find gentlemen and good methods, it's all a kind of laziness. We hope that other people and other forces will help us realize our dreams, but this is already wrong. In the end, we will only become others. Slave of thought. At this moment, around countless cultivators, stars are dotted and fire is gathering. They are enlightening, and the sparks of human fire are gradually gathering. No. Stop him first, he is about to step out of the real realm of forbidden divine fire. On the other side, Mo Tai, the Dark Fire Emperor, and the Wood Emperor originally wanted to take down Mo Zheng first, but now, seeing the situation on the field, he sensed some bad premonition. This is a sign that the fire in the world is about to ignite. You stop Mo Zheng, I'll kill him. Mo Tai shouted, he pulled away and headed towards Qing Chen. He evolved into the phantom of an ancient behemoth. It was huge, as if it could swallow the sky. The strong wind undulated when its two huge ears swayed, and the mountains and rivers swayed when the huge nose breathed. Mo Tai's body turned out to be a head. Big black pig. Your meat tastes good. Mo Tai looked at Qing Chen, his eyes filled with laughter, and he opened his mouth wide, ready to swallow it at Qing Chen. Maid, you're a fat pig, who are you going to eat? Come and eat grass. Lu Rang rushed over, and the pot of grass in his hand bloomed into endless green shadows, stretching endlessly across the sky and the earth, directly stopping the big black pig. Hey, this grass is not bad. Mo Taiju's eyes lit up, and then he swallowed Lu Rang's grass in one gulp. Seeing this scene, Lu Rang was stunned. It's over, what the hell, why did you really bring it to me to eat? Give me back the straw. Lu Rang was anxious. On the other side, Qing Chen stood among many cultivators. He was like a holy monk preaching. At this moment, countless fires of faith were born from the hearts of many cultivators and then gathered around him. You don't have to believe in gods, you don't have to look for a savior, you don't have to wait for a hero. Qing Chen clasped his hands together. At this moment, there was a look of great compassion on his face. He changed from his usual casualness, and word by word, he shouted like Huangzongdalu. Where you stand is the Pure Land, and wherever you look is the other shore. The sea of suffering is boundless, and only people can cross it by themselves. Stand up. His loud shout seemed to shake the world and travel through time and space. For a moment, the cultivators who were kneeling and listening to his sermon suddenly stood up. At this moment, in the eyes of every ordinary person, but they all burst out with brilliant light. That light is like the stars that illuminate the darkness in the night sky, like the sparks gathering in a prairie fire, and finally, a pure and bright flame is stirred up. Boom! At this moment, before the barrier, the fire that had been extinguished for countless years and the firewood had become cold suddenly started burning fiercely. The endless human fire, invisible and qualityless, but transcending everything, lingers around Xing Chen at this moment, as if it wants to refine and sublimate him. The fire on earth is lit. Clear the dust and start the fire. At the same time, that is at this moment. The world roared, and the invisible holy fire erupted from the first fire mountain, like a volcano erupting, like a torch shining, making all living things in the world feel it. In an instant, countless shrines, ancestral halls, and temples suddenly collapsed across the world and the forbidden 9 continents. The fire in the world is ignited. What's going on? When the fire breaks out in the world, all false gods will retreat. The fire of faith among people in the world is gathering in the direction of Xuanhuan continent. The fire in the world has been ignited. Can the next level of the forbidden realm be completed? At this moment, the world was in shock. Everyone in Zhuzhu and even the immortal land is paying attention, and their eyes are all focused on Xuanhuan continent. In the darkness of nowhere. Wrong. The silent man's expression changed and he said, "The fire in the world is lit." He also frowned and said, "The fire of the world, once this fire is ignited, the 2 realms of divine fire and forging of the forbidden path can be passed." He pondered for a moment, then suddenly raised his hand, pointed in the direction of the human fire in the forbidden world, and said, "The fire in the world must be extinguished." Thanks to the leader. Book Friends 202205080420298840. Reward. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Gui Xin. Chapter 1176. The fire in the world is lit. The vision directly alarmed the entire taboo 9 continents. No matter where they are, all living beings can see that above the Xuanhuan continent's first fire mountain, an invisible huge holy fire is burning, and in the holy fire, there is a bright and loud sound that shakes the world. You don't have to believe in gods, you don't have to look for a savior, you don't have to wait for a hero. Where you stand is the Pure Land, and wherever you look is the other shore. The sea of suffering is boundless, and only people can cross it by themselves. Deafening and enlightening, this kind of voice reaches people's hearts, making all living beings in the world realize and transform. Above the 9 continents, billions of beings and more sparks of fire are gathering towards the divine fire continent. At this moment, the human fire becomes extremely strong and almost burns through the sky. And the dark place. Human fire cannot burn. Zhizhe pointed out calmly. This finger pointed out that in the entire dark space, many cultivators, including the silent one, felt an instant of stagnation, and were affected by the way of the stopper, and they were unable to move. At the same time, this finger instantly invaded the vast forbidden world. Above the 9 continents, the endless sparks of faith are like thousands of streams trickling into the sea, converging towards the divine fire continent. But, suddenly, above the heaven and earth, an illusory big finger passed across the 9 continents. Wherever it went, everything froze. Even the beating flames of flawless faith seemed to be frozen, unable to move. Stop, the path of inaction, not only the entity, but also the illusory spiritual thoughts and the elusive fire of faith will stop. This is the supreme terror. Reach the sky above Xuanhuan continent instantly with one finger. At this moment, Xuanhuan continent started to fire the mountains. The pure holy fire has been completed, and his Taoist scenery has been released. The holy fire is burning blazingly. In the void of his Taoist scenery, a building is gradually being refined by the holy fire. It looked like a huge temple. This is the last realm of the five elements, casting. In fact, the divine fire is called the holy fire, and the caster is also called the palace of life. The life palace is created with human fire, and the life palace represents the meaning of life. The faith gathered in it is the foundation that inspires the endless growth of a civilization. Once the life palace is completed, Qing Chen will have a perfect state of the five elements, and it can be called a taboo power. Kill him. We must never let him get to this point. The Dark Fire Emperor and the Dark Wood Emperor both shouted that they wanted to kill Qing Chen. However, Mo Zheng tried his best to stop them, risking his own life. At the same time, Huo Ling'er and Mu Wanqing also tried their best to take action. They relied on the treasure they obtained from Li Fan to mediate around them, which also played a big role. On the other side, Mo Tai was also crazy and wanted to take action, but he found that his stomach was in severe pain. He swallowed the grass from Lu Rang, but at this moment he felt that his own flesh and blood was being swallowed by something. What the hell? He looked inside, only to find that there was actually a piece of grass taking root in his stomach. The root of the grass was frantically absorbing his flesh and blood, and the leaves were cutting into his internal organs. This grass is eating me. Mo Tai was shocked. His true form was the heaven-breaking dowdy divine pig, which could always devour everything in the world. Whether it was divine gold, stars, or origins, they would be refined by him and become his own supplement. He would eat everything. But today, when he swallowed a piece of grass, it was eaten back by that grass. What the hell is this? Moreover, as an emperor, he couldn't stand the severe pain of being swallowed up bit by bit, and he rolled on the ground, wailing. He felt that if this continued, his life would really be hollowed out by this grass. But, right now, the vast black thumb has finally arrived. In an instant, everything on the entire Shiwo mountain suddenly came to a standstill. Mo Tai, who was still rolling around on the ground, suddenly held his belly and became motionless. The pained expression on the corner of his mouth looked like a stone sculpture. The Dark Fire Emperor, Wood Emperor, and Mo Zheng remained motionless. The flames in the hearts of many cultivators who had stood up in the field stopped. Qing Chen, standing in the center of the human fire, suddenly became unable to move, and the blazing fire turned into ice. This finger will obliterate Qing Chen. Just when the fire on earth was burning on the great mountain of first fire. Small village. In the morning, Li Fan woke up drowsily. Perhaps because he was a little distracted yesterday, he got up quite late today. After walking out of the small courtyard, Gongya attentively helped Li Fan wash up. The words Long Xuanhuan, Zhiguyuking, Wu Dade, and Subakian came back, which made Li Fan have a good appetite, and he also ate more of the porridge made by Gongya. Master, what is fire in the world? After breakfast, Zhiguyuking suddenly spoke, looked at Li Fan and asked. Last night, although they were in a dream, they still reached the realm of immortality. Long Xuanhuan planted the martial arts Tianxin lotus, Zhiguyuking planted the unquenchable fire tree, and Wu Dade also planted the molten gold ancestral tree. Now, they are about to enter the next realm, divine fire. And the divine fire requires those who take the forbidden path to ignite the human fire. Human fire is the fire of faith that can guide people in the world to move forward. If it is said that to breathe soil, to remove water, and to grow trees, you only need to follow the step-by-step process, obtain the corresponding soil, dig out the vast ocean water, and plant fairy seeds, and then you can proceed, then starting from the realm of divine fire, you need to realize it. It is very important to be able to understand the true meaning of human fire. Only by igniting the fire of the world can we use the fire of the world to cast the palace of life. Therefore, they all looked at Li Fan. When Li Fan heard this, he couldn't help but pause slightly. Human fire. When did Tuguyuking start studying philosophy? However, he is not unfamiliar with this term. Fire in the world actually has another name, fire of faith. The fire in the world is the fire of faith, and what you believe in the world is the fire of the world. For example, some people once believed in rituals and religions, which are like fire in the world. However, when the rituals collapse and music breaks down, the fire in the world will also go out, and chaos will naturally come as promised. Li Fan explained simply. Tuguyuking and others were thoughtful and said, "Master, what kind of faith can last forever?" Li Fan smiled slightly and said, "What eternity is there in this world? The only constant is that the world is always changing. All Tao is just a reflection of people's hearts at a certain stage. If you regard those Tao as eternity, it is tantamount to seeking a sword and being abandoned by the times. It is better to ask the inner mind than to seek truth from outside. It is better to believe in oneself than to believe in God." Li Fan spoke softly. Hearing this, Tuguyuking and others suddenly woke up. Instead of seeking truth from outside, it is better to ask your heart. Instead of trusting God, it is better to trust yourself. There is no need to look for external things. My heart is my faith. I believe in everything in the world with one sword. This is my fire of humanity. Tuguyuking whispered. In his heart, the divine fire suddenly ignited. Wherever the martial arts reaches, all laws are empty. If you believe in yourself, you can get your own fire. Xuanhuan was also feeling something. Saving lives and healing the wounded, medicine can kill people, but it can also save people. Kill those who should be killed in this world, and save those who should be saved in this world. This is my fire. Subakian closed her eyes. But Wu Dade scratched his head. He was a little confused. The fire of faith? After all, I have suffered the loss of being uneducated. These words sound like a slap in the head. Suddenly, they all understood their own path. Li Fan, on the other hand, took out the fourth lamp from the study. The fourth lamp is different from the first three lamps. The inscription on it seems to belong to the Holy Path wall calendar. Li Fan looked at it for a moment, then asked Gongya to bring him a pen and ink. Then, start drawing the second wall calendar. The one who jumped to the great god left 5 wall calendars. Immortal, Saint, God, and Chaos have all been torn off. Now that the immortal path calendar has been drawn, he wants to see what the other calendars have. The clue of the fourth light is enough. He made one stroke. That is at this moment. Boom. On the great mountain of first fire, the big finger of darkness that stopped everything suddenly stopped. A sky curtain dropped from the vast sky and enveloped this place. Dark place. He, indeed, took action again. There was actually a faint look of expectation in Zhijhe's eyes. Good night. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 1177. Starting to fire the mountain. Zhizhe's finger brought everything to a standstill. Even Qing Chen, who was in the fire of humanity, almost had no choice but to die. But, at this moment, the sky fell, blocking everything. Even the black finger could no longer move forward. At the same time, the motionless realm brought about by the big black finger also collapsed instantly. All living creatures on Shiwo Mountain were separated from the state of immobility. What happened? We just seem to have entered some kind of stagnant state. The big black finger, I think it's a supreme hand that comes from the darkness. Was it blocked by someone? Everyone who reacted was shocked. Motai, on the other hand, recovered from the severe pain in an instant. While holding his belly, he looked at the big black finger and said, "Lords Hij, help, help." The Dark Fire Emperor and the Dark Wood Emperor were also shocked. That was the stopper, one of the strongest among the supreme ones. But now, they were actually blocked. Who is taking action? Could it be that person's other body? The two of them murmured. Senior Li. Huo Ling'er was extremely excited. Only Senior Li can have such a heaven-defying handwriting. Mu Wanqing was also sure. Qing Chen raised his eyes and looked at the big curtain in the sky, and his eyes instantly filled with warmth. Master, is Master watching us? He whispered. Master is here, darkness, come on, come back when you have the ability. Lu Rang also shouted excitedly. Immediately afterwards, the curtain on the sky did not stop there. It's like a supreme being waving a paintbrush. The second waterfall fell from the sky. It's like bringing up the shadow of time, like a river that reverses time and space. At this moment, the world between heaven and earth actually seems to be connected to the other side of time and space. The third stroke. The fourth stroke. Every stroke is astonishingly vast and boundless. The dark big finger of Zhiji disappeared into thin air. In front of this shocking handwriting, even if it was supreme, it seemed insignificant. A vast space of time slowly emerged. That is, the time and space of the holy path. Zhu felt it, and the world paid attention to it. The floating soil of the holy path reappeared from the past years, just like the fairy land in the past, spread across the world. In the time and space of the holy path, a supreme picture flashed. Some ancestors drilled wood to make fire to dispel darkness and coldness for living beings. There are sages who have tasted hundreds of herbs and healed the world's pain and diseases. There are heroes who come back thousands of times to clear the flooded river for the world. Those are the figures of saints in the world, and they belong to the time and space of the holy way. The holy fires of the world are passed on to each other, burning blazingly, endlessly, creating the brilliance of that time and space. But, in the end, all the pictures are covered by dust, all the light is swallowed up by darkness, the floating soil is extinguished, and the black mist surges. Deep in the Holy Land, between the source, is a ladder of years, and on the ladder of years, a figure sat cross-legged. It was a dark and powerful person, and his face could not be seen at all, because his face was like a deadly black hole, and he seemed to be a ball of darkness. On the ladder of time beside him, there was still a black flame floating, and the flame was beating, and there seemed to be countless wailings echoing in it. That's the dark holy fire. The darkness is coming, and there is no light in the world. The most powerful man of darkness sitting on the steps spoke. He stood up in one step and said, "You went through the past years to get the fire of the holy way. Now, these years have been suppressed by my master. There is no fire of the holy way to take, no source of the holy way to use. You should not act against heaven again. This dark mass that cannot be looked directly is opening its mouth, moving towards the sky, one after another, on the sky." However, the owner of that tent did not respond, but there was another addition between heaven and earth. "You have lost the origin of the immortal way, the dark one is bold, and it is indispensable today. I want to take your move." A dark existence actually walked out of the dark holy soil in one step. The moment he appeared, the entire world suddenly fell into darkness. The light of the sun was blocked, the transformation of the divine moon faded, the stars dimmed, the fire disappeared, and the whole world fell into great darkness. This is the way of the Dark One, without light. On the lightless path, wherever you go, there will be no light for eternity. At this moment, All living creatures in the world fell into great fear. No, I feel like I am alone in a dark wilderness. Brother, Master, where have you been? Master, please don't leave me. Fear, loneliness, so what if I have a good level of cultivation? Facing the eternal darkness is enough to make one suffocate. All the people were shouting in fear. After the absolute darkness fell, everyone seemed to have entered the night alone. The feeling of suffocation and powerlessness almost destroyed everyone's Taoist heart. The Dark One has already appeared in the sky above the forbidden world. He clasped his hands together and said in a low voice, "He is the source of all darkness. Please stop." The darkness he exudes is like a group of demons baring their teeth and claws, heading towards the few waterfalls on the sky. Darkness touches the pen edge. Boom. But like dewdrops evaporating in an instant when meeting the bright sun, the darkness suddenly swayed, and the figure was about to burst. With just one touch, the Dark One was defeated. Even though the origin of immortality has been lost, I am still not qualified to let you take action. The Dark One whispered, with some discomfort in his words. The reason why he dared to take action was because that person had lost the origin of immortality. The realm is no longer as stable as it once was. And he is the most powerful of all, the only one who has the path of no light. However, just now, the opponent's few strokes of the sky waterfall were there, and none of them took the initiative to attack him. He tried his best, but just touched it, and he was defeated. The opponent didn't even make a move, he was just painting on his own, and he was defeated by the sharpness of his painting. As expected of a man who has gone against the passing years. The Dark One whispered, saying, "You are very strong, but it is a pity that you can no longer obtain the fire of the holy way in this life. No one in this world can walk through the forbidden path you created. My master has left behind the fire of darkness. Even if the fire of humanity is lucky enough to be ignited in this world, it will be of no use." He moved his eyes downwards, focused on Qing Chen, and said, "In the time and space of the holy path, many fires of humanity have been ignited, but they have all been extinguished. In the face of my master's dark holy fire, all human fires will be extinguished. Even that person cannot surpass my master's dark holy fire. The fire of the holy way that you have kindled must also be extinguished." Hearing this, Qing Chen said, "Oh, the dark holy fire makes people so scared. But your fire seems to have been taken away by someone." The dark man was startled when he heard this, and turned around subconsciously. "I saw in that dark holy land, at some point, there was a figure, passed through the endless darkness, arrived at the steps of time, and took the dark holy fire away. At this moment, Sayazi is running away, so fast." "What?" When the Dark Ones saw this, they were immediately confused. "What the hell is going on? Who can get out of the darkness where his own lightless path lies? Not to mention entering the depths of the dark holy land and taking away the dark holy fire left by master? You, dance to the great God. Give my master back the fire." He reacted and shouted immediately. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Gui Xin. Chapter 1178. There is no light in the world, and the way of the Dark One makes the sun, moon, and stars disappear. This intense darkness is enough to make people lose any direction and feel eternal loneliness. Darkness is a kind of prison. However, under this kind of prison, someone actually raided his home and stole the most important thing in the dark holy land. Dark holy fire. It should be noted that that is what his master left behind, the step of suppressing the years. As long as the holy fire of darkness exists, there will always be nothing but annihilation and darkness in the holy land of darkness. The flame, light, and origin of the holy path will never reappear. That flame represents the master's way. Who can reach it? Even if you are supreme, you still need to lower your eyebrows. You're a master of dancing, don't even think about escaping. The Dark One has determined that in this world, that person did not take direct action. Only those who jump to the top have the ability to move freely in their own dark cage. He immediately used his great magic power, and a dark wave swept across the heavens, as if it was going to pervade even time and space. If you were in your prime, I would never pursue you, but now, with only a few remnants of your soul left, you dare to act so boldly and seek death. He was sure that Tiao Shen wouldn't be able to hold on for long. But, right now, above the sky, deep in the endless universe, a drop of blood suddenly appeared. That drop of blood was like a burning flame, and the golden light directly tore open the curtain of darkness. Even the darkness that could swallow up the sun, moon, and stars could not stop that drop of blood. In that drop of blood, dormant is the power of billions of volcanoes. When a drop of blood comes out, endless visions are manifesting. The pillars of heaven break, the southeast collapses, rivers pour in, and in the disaster vision, there is the brilliance of the Holy Way. Suppressing everything, the figures of the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors, the great sages of ancient times, etc., seem to be relying on which drop of blood? No. This is the precious blood of the Holy Way. The Dark One was shocked and his eyes were filled with fear. He didn't even dare to chase after the master jumper. He turned around and left, evacuating this world at an unimaginable speed. He was simply running away. Because he knew very well that the precious blood of the holy path had come out, which meant that that person was serious about it. When that person doesn't care, he has the courage to test it because he knows that the other person doesn't care. But if the other party really wants to care, then stay as far away as possible and hide as far away as possible. This is the safest way. At this moment, the whole world seemed to break free from the darkness of dawn, and golden light filled the earth. Countless creatures escaped from the dark prison, saw the light again, and saw the plants and trees in front of them again. Many creatures cried with joy, feeling very lucky to survive the disaster. What is that? The golden light frees us from the darkness. Is that the holy light of the world? That golden light is the breath of the Holy Way. At this moment, countless cultivators were excited and attracted the attention of the whole world. In the dark and cold cosmic floating soil, a drop of blood seemed to fall from ancient time and space, and then submerged into the cosmic floating soil. Boom! Suddenly, the coldness of the floating earth in the universe was dispelled, the dark mist was evaporated, and the land of extinction erupted into billions of golden radiance at this moment. Just like the fairy land in the past, above the Holy Land, the aura of the Holy Way pours down like a river into the heaven and earth, allowing all living creatures to be bathed in the holy light. At the same time, on the floating soil of the universe, countless huge golden words emerged, including sacred Chinese watches, copper bamboos, gold books, jade letters and other objects, as if they were summoned from time and space. Those are the holy words of time and space in the past. They are the endless treasure house of the Holy Way. There are all kinds of holy ways in a vast sea. Every cultivator in this world can find the way of his own belief in it, thereby igniting his own path. The fire of the Holy Way. The secrets of the Holy Way, etc., enter it and understand. Great, let's go. First there was the immortal way, and now the Holy Way has also appeared. God bless my forbidden world. The cultivators in the world are all ecstatic at this moment, and many people are heading towards the Holy Land. And the fire started in the mountains. No. At this moment, the Dark Fire Emperor and the Dark Wood Emperor were struggling, and the thousands of rays of light displayed on the holy soil were actually killing them. Their dark origins are constantly lost, the mist evaporates, making their appearance as pale as a dead person, many scars and sword marks on their bodies reappear, and the life given to them by the darkness is disappearing. We are born from darkness, and darkness will protect us. No. That person already has a throne in the darkness. Why does his other body still want to kill us? The Dark Fire Emperor and the Wood Emperor were unwilling to give in. However, even though they were great emperors now, they were still as fragile as ants. Soon, all their origins would disappear. They became almost rotten corpses and fell to the ground. When Huo Linger and Mu Wanqing looked at this scene, they couldn't help but feel heavy in their hearts. These are their former corpses, but because they were in the darkness, they gained another kind of life. This feeling is very strange. Ah! At the same time, the silent screams on the other side also came and went, extremely painful. He fell to the ground, and a blade of grass had pierced his chest and grown out of his flesh. This is the ultimate pain, with a piece of grass swallowing up all the flesh and blood bit by bit. No. I am Emotai, I am the great emperor, but Daodi wants everything. How could he let a blade of grass kill him? Emotai cried out sadly as his internal organs were pierced bit by the grass roots and then absorbed. Finally, under the great pain, he screamed and fainted. Ha ha ha, everything is unclean and deserves to die. Exterminate all living things, starting from me, and restore the innocence of the universe. Emperor Mo Zheng suddenly raised his hand, ready to slap him on the head. He wants to commit suicide. However, at this time, Qing Chen suddenly said, "Stop." Mo Zheng looked at Qing Chen, his eyes a little crazy, and said, "What's wrong?" Qing Chen said, "Brother, don't you think you are too selfish if you do this?" Mo Zheng was stunned and said, "Selfish?" Qing Chen said, "Of course. Think about it, you have sinned so much, but you want to die. What is the difference between this and a coward? Are you worthy of the universe? Don't forget, even if one of you dies, there are still thousands of you. You shouldn't die like this, but you should remain useful. In order to restore the innocence of the universe, work tirelessly. Go back into the darkness and kill everyone you can, especially the young geniuses and seed figures. Kill them secretly. In the bud. Use your limited life to fight for the infinite cause, and use your youth to write a long poem to restore the innocence of the universe. Go, the law of the universe is calling you, and the dark destiny is waiting for you. For your great dream, redeem your sinful soul." Qing Chen made an impassioned speech, and his voice was as deafening as a bell, making people's souls sway. "Use my limited life to fight for an infinite cause, and use my youth to write a long poem to restore the innocence of the universe." At this moment, Mo Zheng was also excited. He clenched his fists as if he had been injected with blood, as if he had seen the light. "I want to go back, I want to be a hunter in the dark and kill them all, especially the young ones, before they have grown up and nip them in the bud." He gritted his teeth. Qing Chen patted his shoulder and said approvingly, "Yes, remember, when you go back, stay silent. No matter who talks to you, don't listen, don't communicate, just do things. Because, if someone else communicates with him, King Chen's degree of transformation will immediately disappear. After all, Mo Zheng is the great emperor, and Qing Chen used his own knowledge to build a network for him. This network is too fragile and will break at any time. The safest way is to prevent him from communicating with other people." Hearing this, Mo Zheng nodded. He suddenly waved his hand and melted his ears into pus and blood, and cut off his tongue. He used his magical power to kill himself, so now he is completely deaf and mute. There was determination in his eyes, like a brave warrior with heartbreaking intentions, and his intentions were astonishing. Qing Chen was shocked, this guy, so awesome. He couldn't help but give a thumbs up and said, "Good. Silly dog, take your brother back with you. Now anyway, the other party has destroyed his ears and tongue, so he can say whatever he wants." Although Mo Zheng couldn't hear it, he could still roughly tell that when Qing Chen praised him again, he immediately turned around and walked towards Mo Tai. At this moment, the grass on Amotai's body has completely grown. Nourish yourself with the flesh and blood of the great emperor. Amotai's entire body was dead, his life completely absorbed by a blade of grass. Tisk, tisk, this is good fertilizer. Lu Rang took down his piece of grass and replanted it in the flower pot. Then, he suddenly took out a handful of grass seeds and sprinkled them on Amotai's body. Suddenly, Amotai's broken blood vessels actually grew again, but it looked like a tree root. He sat upright, his mouth opened and closed, his expression dull. Fake corpse. Qing Chen accident. Lu Rang smiled and said. It's not a fake corpse, this is the piranha I raised. This kind of flower will combine with Amotai's original life, and then, eat the same creatures as him. Qing Chen couldn't help but said, Senior brother Lu, you are perverted. Lu Rang said. Are you telling me that you are a pervert? You are such a great emperor, but you have been deceived into lameness, deafness, and muteness. How dare you say that? How inappropriate. At this time, Amo Zheng had already picked up Amotai, bowed to the two of them, turned around and left. Both of them are very inappropriate. Next to him, Mu Wanqing couldn't help but sigh with a complicated expression. The two Dark Emperors are considered invincible in today's taboo world. As a result, the two disciples of Senior Li were treated like this. One was stupid and counted money for others, and the other turned into a piranha eating his own race. Let's go get the light. At this time, Qing Chen opened his mouth. The fire in the world has been ignited, and the barrier has been opened. Good night. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Goi Xin. Chapter 1179. The ceiling barrier completely disappeared as the human fire ignited. Qing Chen and Lu Rang stepped into the barrier and saw a white jade altar in front of them, and on top of the altar were placed two ancient bronze lamps. Seeing these two ancient bronze lamps, both Qing Chen and Qing Chen were stunned. Because, this ancient bronze lamp, it was actually set on fire. Moreover, it was still a black flame. What's going on? Lu Rang was immediately confused. Hasn't the light of origin been extinguished? They need to use their own white mist origins and lives to rekindle it. But now it has been set on fire, and it is still dark. Something weird. Qing Chen was also deep in thought and said. In this case, a spark of fire will start a prairie fire, how can we leave? The two looked at each other. Perhaps, Senior Li has already made other arrangements. Otherwise, how could he personally take action to summon the time and space of the holy path? At this time, Huo Ling and Mu Wanqing came over. It's better to go back first and find Senior Li. Qing Chen and Lu Rang also nodded. Now that things have happened, they can only return to the village first. I don't know where Master and the others are now. Lu Rang spoke. Huo Ling said. Kaiwenzo. They have been following Black and White. Some time ago, the Thunder Emperor of Kaiwenzo fell. The second uncle burned yellow paper at the entrance of the village to summon reincarnation and control the Tianxin mark and creation authority of Kaiwenzo. Therefore, at that time, Black and White and Fire Spirit and others already knew that the small mountain village was in Kaiwenzo. Okay, then, let's go back to the village first. Lu Rang suddenly became happy. Immediately, they, Huo Ling and Mu Wanqing, headed towards Kaiwan continent. And at this moment, the entire Jiuzhu is booming, and countless creatures are heading towards the Holy Land. There are thousands of holy ways in the Holy Land, and everyone can find their own fire of the holy ways in it. Fill the gaps in the forbidden path. First get the immortal seed, then get the holy fire, the golden age has arrived. There is a sensation in the world. Immortal land and holy land, these ancient lands that were once extinct, have regained their vitality. The origin of the immortal way and the breath of the holy way are pouring between heaven and earth, nurturing the world. In fact, the legend about the Golden Age was once spread like crazy. At this moment, Taiying continent. During the day, there is still a crescent moon, pouring out the moonlight. That is the symbol of the Divine Moon Emperor Court. The Divine Moon Imperial Court was founded by an extremely mysterious emperor in this world, the Moon Emperor. It is said that in the ancient past, Taiying continent had an amazingly talented ancient emperor, the Taiying Empress, who became enlightened. However, because she joined hands with the Sun Emperor of Taiying continent to create a path to creation, darkness took action. Both were destroyed. The current Moon Emperor and Sun Emperor grew up following the path of the two ancient emperors, Taiying and Sun. The Divine Moon Emperor's court is located in the Divine Moon State. In the sky of the Divine Moon State, above the ethereal and untouchable silver moon, there is an extremely mysterious moon palace, which is the residence of the Moon Emperor. The moon palace is deeply cold and shrouded in cold mist. The white moonlight flows like water across the river in front of the moon palace. In front of the palace, there is an old tree stump that has been dead for an unknown number of years. Beside the tree stump, a peerless beauty is lying casually on a jade bed, drinking and drinking. The Holy Land also appeared. This peerless beauty whispered and murmured. Senior Divine Witch said that thunder and water will destroy the earth and metal, and the fire of the Holy Way will fill the world. He has indeed seen a lot. On the road to creation, will there be a glimmer of hope in this life? She murmured and suddenly took out a painting. In that painting, there is a fairy palace on the moon, which is vaguely visible. In the fairy mist, there is a laurel that has grown for countless years. Next to the laurel, there is a jade rabbit, alone. The name of the painting is Xuanhuan Palace. She got this painting by accident not long ago when Xuanhuan Emperor was recruiting disciples. At that time, the last step in recruiting disciples required those disciples to understand the way of the Divine Moon in order to determine their qualifications for practicing the way of the Divine Moon. And there was a girl who painted with a pen and left this painting. I have become an emperor, but my old friends have disappeared and the laurels are cut off. I miss my friend when I look at the painting. The peerless woman in the moon palace sighed. The reason why she noticed this painting was that it showed her past appropriately. Once upon a time, she was just a carefree rabbit, following the Taiying Empress. Later, darkness fell, the Empress passed away, and the laurel was cut off. Only she remained, inheriting the Empress way and practicing to this day. The immortal seeds are scattered in the Kunlun realm, and the holy source flows into the Lianji mountains. It is easy to create a world and wait for the heaven to change, but it is difficult to cross the gate of hell between life and death. She whispered. This is the prophecy left by the great master Tiao. Thunder, collapse, water, all gold and earth are destroyed, and the fire of the holy way fills the world. Immortal seeds are scattered in the Kunlun realm, and the source of life flows into Lianji mountain. It is easy to create a world and wait for the heavens to change, but it is difficult to pass through the gate of hell in life and death. Now, the thunder has collapsed, the water court has been destroyed, the Golden Emperor and the Earth Emperor have also disappeared, and the fire of the Holy Way has been rekindled. Can we embark on the road to creation? She snapped her fingers and whispered. Go to the immortal land and introduce immortal seeds to Kunlun. Kunlun Holy Land is a secret place where Taiying continent and Sun continent meet. In the ancient past, there was once chosen as the place of creation by the Taiying Empress and the ancient Sun Emperor. Now, many of Tiao Dashan's predictions have come true, and she finally made her own decision. Take the path of creation. Suddenly, the Xuanhuan state and the Xuanhuan imperial court exploded. The Empress has an order to go to the immortal land. Great, we can finally go to the fairy land. This time, we can complete the incomplete Forbidden Road. The 18 strongest geniuses in the imperial court are all about to leave, and the moon court is about to obtain the immortal seeds. Many cultivators in the Divine Moon Imperial Court were overjoyed. The Immortal Land has appeared for some time, but the two Imperial Courts, the Divine Moon Imperial Court and the Lai Sun Imperial Court, have never moved. Because if the Immortal Land reappears, it will definitely be tabooed by the darkness. If it goes out rashly, it may cause the disaster of the darkness. Nowadays, everyone in the world is seeking immortal seeds, but the darkness has not yet arrived, so they are already relieved. Huge imperial spaceships rise from the pure land of Taiyan in Taiyan continent. On the bows, there are rounds of holy moons engraved on them. The spaceships are about to fly across the void and head towards the Holy Land. Those on the spaceship are the most powerful top geniuses in the Imperial Court. The arrival of the fairy land and the reappearance of the Holy Land proves that the path of creation is the correct one. On a ship headed by Faye, an old man looked excited. He looked at the dozen or so young people on the ship and said, "You will form the star formation of the Emperor's Court, attract countless immortal species from the Immortal Land, and fall into the Kunlun Holy Realm. This is the best opportunity. If you can seize it, you will receive great blessings." When many young disciples on the boat heard this, their eyes were filled with anticipation and excitement. This time, almost all the Yuding geniuses have set off, but the dozen or so core people will be responsible for realizing the prophecy of Tao Te Shen, and will have the greatest opportunity. Elder Zhou, can we really succeed? At the same time, some disciples asked anxiously. Elder Zhou nodded and said, "Don't worry, the fairy land has reappeared, and the Holy Land has also been restored. The prophecies left by the one who danced the great God have come true one by one, which is enough to prove that he did foresee this life. The road to creation is a shocking change." His old eyes were also full of excitement, and he said, "The immortal seeds are scattered in the Kunlun realm, and the holy source flows into Lianji Mountain. On the writing side, they should have also gone to the Holy Land to receive the light of the Holy Way. Once successful, there will be hope for the road to creation. At that time, maybe everyone in the world will have a way out." Many of the disciples in Yuding couldn't help but nod. Elder Zhou, the 18 core disciples in the sect are participating in the operation this time. Why does she get on this boat with us? At this time, suddenly in the crowd, a woman spoke harshly. She pointed at a girl not far away and said, "Zi Ling is just a new student, how can she deserve to sit on an imperial ship?" As soon as she opened her mouth, many others also spoke. "Yes, she is just an outer disciple who has just entered the door. The number of places to go to the Immortal Land this time is extremely limited. Many real elites don't have the opportunity. Why can she?" The 18 elite geniuses on the ship were all questioning it at this moment. But the girl at the center of everyone's attention was dressed in a purple dress, as quiet as a virgin. She lowered her head and painted, as if she was isolated from the outside world and didn't care about the sounds of the outside world. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Goi Xin. Chapter 1180. On the Moon Court spacecraft, everyone's eyes fell on the girl in purple skirt. Everyone agrees. After all, this trip to the Immortal Land was preceded by opportunities. Everyone on this ship will participate in the Xingluo formation, and their blessings are unimaginable. And Zi Ling just entered the Moon Court not long ago. Elder Zhou suddenly frowned slightly and said, "Zi Ling's participation in this operation is the decision of the Imperial Court. You don't need to say more." He knows that Zi Ling is a person who is personally cared for by the Moon Palace. Even though Elder Zhou is the head of the outer sect elders, he doesn't know much about Zi Ling's identity. He only vaguely knows that this girl's favor in the Moon Palace seems to be related to a painting she passed during the entrance examination. However, he had no intention of guessing Zi Ling's identity. He just followed Yu Gong's instructions. The decision of the imperial court. But at this time, among the many young men and women, a girl in a moonlight dress spoke coldly and said, "Did the imperial court really make such a decision? Why, I haven't heard of it. My master is also a moon messenger." Seeing her speak, Elder Zhou frowned even deeper. This girl in a moon-colored dress is named Yu Viang, and she is the saint of the divine moon imperial court. Her status is very high, and her master is one of the 12 moon envoys in the imperial court. Elder Zhou Mingxi. At this time, another old man next to him also walked up. He smiled slightly and said, "Zi Ling has just entered the imperial court and is not strong enough, in my opinion, let's change her to someone else. Except for the 18 core disciples, the only one who is qualified to go is my granddaughter Yu Wulan, what do you think?" This elder is the deputy chief of the outer sect, Yu Zaolin. At the same time, he waved his hand directly. Seeing him speak, Zhou Mingxi suddenly understood. Yu Zaolin is the second master of the Saint Yu Viang, and Yu Wulan is Yu Viang's cousin. At this moment, Yu Zaolin and Yu Viang suddenly launched an attack. To put it bluntly, they wanted to give Yu Wulan a chance. Let Yu Wulan participate in the Xingluo formation and get a share of the pie? Zhou Mingxi frowned. If it were for other matters, he would not brush off the demands of Yu Viang and Yu Zaolin. After all, the other party had a big background in the imperial court. If it is a quota for ordinary disciples, the replacement is just a replacement. It is not a big deal for a related household to replace an ordinary person. However, Zi Ling is the person ordered by the Moon Palace, how dare she replace him? She doesn't have the strength to participate in the Star Luo formation at all. Yes, the Xingluo formation requires you to at least complete the Yu Zhaojing. She has only been in it for less than 3 months. How can she have such strength? At this time, several people around Yu Viang spoke harshly. How about this? Yu Viang spoke calmly and said, "I don't want people to say that I, Yu Viang, bully others with my strength. If Xiling can catch my cousin's 10 moves, I will recognize that she is qualified to participate in the Star Luo formation. How about it?" After speaking, she waved her hand. And from another spaceship, a girl has also come. Her appearance is somewhat similar to the Saint Yu Viang, it is Yu Wulan. She stared at the girl in the purple skirt who was painting, with a cold look on her face. "Nonsense!" Zhou Mingxi said angrily. "Zi Ling is the person personally requested by Yu Palace. You dare to attack her." But, at this moment, the girl in the purple skirt who was painting seemed to have finished her painting. She suddenly raised her eyes and smiled, bright and pure, and said, "Elder Zhou, you don't need to say more." She looked at Yu Wulan, her eyes wide and flawless, and said, "I have no intention of competing for your opportunity. It's just that in this trip to the immortal land, the star formation is indeed very important. It is related to the survival of the moon court and even the road to creation, therefore, I have to participate. But I know you are definitely not happy, so, if you are willing, how about I give you a grass from our village as your fairy seed?" Zi Ling spoke. Hearing this, Yu Wulan's face darkened and she said angrily, "You humiliate me. Give a piece of grass from the village as a fairy seed?" In her opinion, this is simply humiliating. Haha, the existence of Moon Court, and even the path to creation, cannot be separated from you. Yu Viang also had a cold face and said, "What strength do you have to say such big words?" Zi Ling was not angry at all and said, "Okay, at the end of the day, you want to fight me. If you want to fight so much, then let's fight." Yu Wulan immediately stepped forward and said angrily, "Shanye girl, I will let you know that you in the Moon Court, are nothing." After saying that, she immediately took action, showing various visions in her Taoist scenery, which was extremely powerful. Yuan is a genius, second only to the 18 core disciples in Yuding. At this moment, she went all out. In the Daojing land, it was like a crescent moon was about to rise, suppressing everything, and the cold light was like a sword, slashing at Xiling. The moon shines through the great success. Yuan is indeed not weak. Around him, many core geniuses looked solemn, and Yuan's strength deserved their attention. Is this menstruation? But Xiling said something and suddenly waved her hand. At this moment, in her hands, it was like moonlight flowing out and gathering into a moon. The full moon suddenly appeared. The light shines. No. Yuan suddenly lost her beauty, and exclaimed, the moon in her scenery suddenly disappeared, and her whole body flew out upside down. Hit class a hard. No. The Yuzhao Sutra has been completed and reached the realm of the divine moon. Impossible, how did she do it? Throughout the ages, no more than 3 people have practiced the Moonlight Sutra to produce the divine moon. For a moment, all the geniuses on the spaceship looked at Xiling in shock. Yu Viang was startled and lost her voice. Are you secretly learning to take care of menstruation? Zhou Mingxi also looked at Xiling in shock and said. How did you cultivate the Moonlight Sutra to this point? The section should have only given you the first volume of the Moonlight Sutra. Yuezaojing, there are 6 volumes in total. A new student like Xiling can only get 1 volume at most. She must have secretly studied the other 5 volumes. Someone spoke loudly. But Xiling smiled slightly and said. Menstruation? I haven't learned it before. I just have nothing to do and like to draw the moon. As she said that, she looked at everyone in the field and said. Is there anyone else who is not convinced? Although I'm not very good at fighting, you can do it together. Hearing this, everyone in the venue had ugly expressions. This doesn't mean he's not very good at fighting. Unacceptable. The key is that for a while, no one really dared to challenge it. After all, Xiling is too perverted, and the Shinai realm, they have been practicing hard for many years, but they have not yet reached it. All right. At this time, Zhou Mingxi opened his mouth and said. This farce is over. Who dares to make irresponsible remarks to Miss Xiling again? Don't blame me for being merciless. Now, he has a vague understanding of why Xiling, a new student, can actually be taken care of by the Moon Palace. This talent is so terrifying. Everyone at the scene was silent. Xiling, on the other hand, lowered his head and continued painting as if nothing had happened. There is something wrong with the path to creation, and it is being watched by darkness. She whispered and said. The laurel trees in Xuanhuan Palace are infected by darkness. After she entered the Forbidden World, she landed in Taiying continent. At that time, she was wandering outside the Kunlun Holy Land and felt that the lamp of origin should be in the Kunlun Holy Land, but she could not enter it. Only the way of creation can open that world. That's why she entered the moon courtyard. However, when she entered the moon garden, she discovered that the moon seemed to be polluted. She observed the moon and drew many pictures of the moon palace, and finally discovered the problem, the laurel tree. Darkness has already laid the groundwork for the path to creation. If the Moon Emperor really embarks on the path of creation, there may be big problems. Therefore, when she entered the moon courtyard, she drew a picture to warn the Moon Emperor. I wonder if the Moon Emperor was aware of the crisis. Now, we still have to find a way to deal with the darkness, lest the Kunlun Holy Realm opens and becomes the wedding dress of the darkness. She thought. On the other side, on the spaceship, Yu Viang looked at Xiling with an increasingly cold look. Xiling's talent is so strong that she actually realized Shinayu, which made her feel threatened. At the same time, Sun Island. A spaceship departs on the same day. Their goal is the Holy Land. Junior brother Lin, you are an accurate fortune teller. Will it go well for us this time? At the bow of the boat, several young people asked Lin Zhujian jokingly. Lin Zhujian smiled slightly and said, "All the best. Good night." Fantasy, I'm really not an unparalleled expert. Author, Gui Xin. Chapter 1181. Dark Place. The darkness seemed to become more intense, and some force darker than darkness invaded this space. For a moment, the disciples of the Silent One all felt an inexplicable feeling of restlessness. They seemed to be isolated and comfortable in a dark prison. "Brother, you are here." He turned back and looked in a certain direction. He waved his hand gently, and the gradually spreading darkness around him seemed to freeze. In the thick darkness, a dark creature came. His whole body was like darkness, swallowing up all eyes. The Dark One. He's here too. What on earth is going on with all this? The Dark One spoke in a deep voice. Why did that person suddenly take action? The stopper said. I set up a plan, and that guy fell into it. There seemed to be a great excitement and expectation in his words. Fell into a trap. The Dark One is confused. That's right, last time, someone related to him planted an immortal seed, and he sacrificed his own immortal origin and awakened the immortal land. So, I further forced him to do something, and now sure enough, he also took out the origin of the Holy Way and gave the Holy Land a new lease of life. He couldn't help but smile and said, "Senior brother, don't you think this is the best opportunity? Destroy the source and burn the universe. If he just sits back and does nothing, we can't do anything to him, but he pities the ants in this world and allows the immortal way, the holy way, etc. to reappear. By doing this, he is destroying the Great Wall. When his origin is gone, will he still be the same person? He is just a supreme being in this universe. When the time comes, it won't even be necessary to use the burning universe formation to make him return to his original law." The dark man frowned when he heard this. That person took the origins of the four major time and space as the basis to create the forbidden way, and at the same time stood on the supreme. If his four major origins of time and space disappeared, indeed, he would no longer be scary. He muttered. So I say, he fell into a trap. The stopper smiled and said, if he wants to save the world, he must sacrifice his own origin, but at the expense of his own origin, he himself will also fall into a place of eternal destruction. Now that the Holy Way has been lost, his realm must have become unstable. How long can he stand on that supreme level? There was a hint of coldness in his words. The Dark One couldn't help but nodded and said, worth a try. Correct. At this time, he suddenly remembered something again and said, now that the immortal way and the holy way have reappeared, we must beware of those ants and embark on the road of creation. Once the world is successfully created, it will be more troublesome to destroy them. For darkness, the methods of parasitism and grey fog are not worth considering. The method of parasitism relies on the seeds of darkness, but once it is really done, those seeds of darkness will also be alienated, and the parasitic emperors will become dark rot slaves like the Dark Fire Emperor and the Dark Wood Emperor. The method of grey mist requires at least a trace of the origin of white mist to be possible. No one can leave in this world. The only way to create the world. The road to creation can take the origins of the past years and create a new world, and this new world can escape into the past years. In this way, if you want to find it when the time comes, you will have to go through a lot of troubles. At this time, the Silent One spoke softly and said, the road to creation has been cut off. Countless years ago, this road was foreshadowed and changed by us. If anyone dares to walk, they will find that the new world they created has long been in darkness. Hearing this, the Dark One looked at the Silent One and couldn't help but nodded appreciatively and said, very good. Junior brother, how's the silence? I'm still waiting for you to achieve the silent Tao, and let the master dancer suffer a lot. When he mentioned the great dancer, there was a hint of hatred in his words. Their brothers and sisters are all the strongest among the supreme, but they were once suppressed by one of the great masters so that they could not hold their heads up. Even in this life, only the soul of the great master dancer was left, and his dark fire was taken away. Simply humiliating. And the silent way of the younger brother Moje was specially cultivated to restrain the dancing master. The silent one said, 9 desires have suppressed 3 desires. As he spoke, he suddenly noticed something and said, the other 2 disciples have also returned. Everyone turned their heads. I saw 2 people approaching in the darkness. It was clear that they were fighting silently and timidly. Seeing the 2 of them, everyone in the venue was a little surprised. Senior brother Mojang, why does it look wrong? Where are his ears? Senior brother Motai, too. Why does his skin turn green? Has he eaten too much grass? 2 senior brothers, have you realized the true meaning of silent Dao? They asked questions one after another. However, Mo Zheng and Mo Tai remained silent. There was silence in Mo Zheng's eyes. He had cut himself off. He not only cut off his ears and tongue in the physical sense, but also cut off his sense of hearing and ability to talk from the root. Therefore, he could not perceive other people at all. The message people conveyed to him. It can be said that he is completely autistic now. Looking at the many dark lives in front of me, a flash of coldness flashed in my eyes, but I quickly suppressed it. As for Mo Tai, his eyes were dull, and only his mouth opened and closed gently, looking somewhat mechanical. The silent man looked at these 2 people and was a little confused. What the hell is this? Why can't I seem to understand their silence? Mo Zheng looks like a deaf person. And Mo Tai, as silent as a tree, seems to have become like a plant. This is strange. Could it be that my silent skills are not good enough? This is outrageous. As a master, I can't understand the silent words of my disciples, isn't it shameful to tell them? Huh? Something doesn't look right about these 2 people. He was confused and said, Junior brother silent one, can you understand their silence? The silent one was hesitating at first, but when he heard these words, he suddenly lost his composure and said, of course I understand. As he spoke, he bit the bullet and said, I watched Mo Zheng, he was autistic and closed his ears and tongue. His heart of silence has become as firm as iron. Mo Tai, on the other hand, transcends the ordinary world. He once indulged in the desires of his mouth and stomach, but now, you see, he has suppressed his own desires with the true meaning of Mo Tai. As he spoke, he waved his hand and said, Mo Quan, try their silent way. Immediately, one of his disciples, Mo Quan, came out. Mo Quan walked up to Mo Zheng and said with a smile, Junior brother Mo Zheng, your understanding of Mo Dao is completely wrong. I'm right, you should listen to me. Everyone is waiting. They all know that it is better to argue silently. But now Mo Zheng just nodded silently. Seeing this scene, everyone was surprised. Sure enough, he has been reformed. Tao silently, it's really powerful. Senior brother Mo Zheng has really understood the true meaning of Mo Dao. Everyone was amazed. Immediately afterwards, Mo Quan took out several extremely delicious dark holy sources and placed them in front of Mo Tai. However, Mo Tai ignored the dark holy source at all, as if he didn't see it. Instead, he stared at Mo Quan, so silent that it was scary. Really? Those who stopped couldn't help but nod their heads and said, it seems that the silent agreement between these 2 people has indeed come true. The silent one was also relieved. He actually played drums a little bit just now, but he felt that he couldn't see through Mo Tai and Mo Zheng, so he deliberately let Mo Quan give it a try. Now it seems that indeed, they are all silent, and their original desires have been suppressed. Immediately, his Dao Jingdi slowly released. It's like a dark universe. In that universe, 9 huge black stars are like Ferris wheels. 3 of the dark stars have become as deep as black holes, like huge silent black stones that are undetectable. Then, Mo Zheng and Mo Tai were included in the Dao Jingdi by Mo Zhe, and they each entered a big star. Those 2 big stars represent the argumentative and gluttonous desires of the Silent One respectively. They're back in place. At this moment, the silent man suddenly felt a dizziness in his brain. He seemed to hear Hong Zongdalu's voice, released in his mind. Striving unremittingly for the great cause of restoring the innocence of the universe, especially those young geniuses and seed figures, secretly killing them in the bud. Use your limited life to fight for an infinite cause, and use your youth to write a long poem that restores the innocence of the universe. The law of the universe is calling you, and the dark destiny is waiting for you. For your great dream, we will redeem your sinful soul. These words made the silent man's head buzz. Something's wrong. The fusion process has begun, but Silent One feels, something is wrong. Why in my heart, I seem to start to hate the dark creatures, hate myself, hate everything about darkness, and want to kill the dark creatures. What evil idea is this? Damn it, what's going on? What happened to this guy Mo Zheng? No, I have to get rid of this thought. The Silent One is anxious. Such a fusion will affect his spirit. Who knows when it will break out, causing him to go crazy and attack the dark creatures. However, the fusion process intensified and he was no longer able to fight? Huh? No. Why do I have another thought? At this time, he discovered that as Mo Tai merged, he, actually felt a kind of hunger. That hunger, the desire to devour, dark life. What the hell, are you still playing superposition? The silent ones were all shocked. Mo Zhen wanted to kill the dark creatures, and Mo Tai wanted to devour the dark creatures. Is this turning yourself into a traitor? No. He trembled with difficulty, but couldn't resist. Mo Zheng and Mo Tai were completely integrated into his 2 dark stars. After a long time, the silent man slowly woke up. When he woke up, he was a little confused. Is my silent way accomplished? It seems, it's done. The dark star, which represents the argumentative and gluttonous nature, has indeed calmed down. However, he felt that there was a strange thought in his mind. He couldn't help but glance at his remaining disciples such as Mo Quan, and actually swallowed a mouthful of saliva subconsciously. But this instinct flashed through, and he quickly calmed down his mind and reason. Mu Dao is almost successful. Both the stagnant and the dark are joyful. The laurel is moving. At this time, the silent one suddenly sensed something and said, the successor of the Taiyan Empress, the Moon Emperor, is going to take the path of creation. Hearing this, the dark man immediately said, intercept and kill it. We can't let them really take a part of the world and escape into the historical years. If we get to that point, it will be very difficult to hunt them down. The silent one nodded and said, Mo Quan, Mo Shi, you go. He spoke to his 2 disciples. 2 men walked out. Mo Quan was dressed in a luxurious black robe, like a prince and aristocrat. He represented the power-loving side of Mo Quan. The silent man is a handsome young man, but around his neck hangs a dense string of human bone necklaces. He represents another strange desire of the silent man, necrophilia. The 2 immediately stood up and left. Now, 5 lamps of origin have been lit. The dark one looked towards the forbidden world and said coldly, when all 9 lamps of origin are lit, he should also have a complete fall in his realm. By then, the burning universe array will be activated. Their eyes were filled with anticipation. But behind them, the silent one kept biting the tip of his tongue. I'm so hungry, I want to eat people for no reason. It would be great if the two senior brothers would let me eat. An idea flashed through his mind instinctively, but he was suddenly frightened and pinched himself in a hurry. Not long after, MaleProtagonist and MaleProtagonist appeared in the Forbidden World. Where are we going? MaleProtagonist asked with a slight smile. MaleProtagonist said. Countless years ago, the Taiyan Empress and the Sun Ancient Emperor were preparing to create the world in Lianji Mountain in the Kunlun Holy Land, but they were killed by us. Now, if their heirs want to continue the path of creation, they will inevitably choose the Kunlun Holy Land. We can just go there. MaleProtagonist nodded, and then asked. Do you know what the master is talking about? When the Empress of Taiyan and the Ancient Emperor of the Sun died, in order to prevent future troubles, the Dark Dome left a backup plan and set up a trap. MaleProtagonist smiled slightly and said. Do you know why the Taiyan Empress and the Sun Ancient Emperor died, but the Kunlun Holy Land and Lianji Mountain were still left? Haha, if you want to follow the path of creation again, you must introduce the immortal seeds into Kunlun and the holy sources into Lianji. But, when the immortal seeds fall to the ground and the holy sources enter the mountains, what they create will not be what they want. The pure land of life you want, but, purgatory on earth. And I will be the controller of this purgatory. The purgatory on earth created by the two emperors of the sun and moon will be the step for my power to reach the sky. He loves power, and the technique he practices is called the art of controlling the heaven. The so-called art of controlling the heaven is to control the power of the world and control the world. The path of creation that the sun and moon emperors took was just to make a wedding dress for him. When the sun and moon emperors truly created a world, that world would be controlled by him. He will use this to reach the pinnacle of the art of heaven manipulation, and glimpse the true meaning of Silent Tao at the pinnacle. This is why the Silent One asked him to come. MaleProtagonist nodded. He also smiled and said. You control the world, and I only need to control the corpses of the world. All kinds of corpses, my charnel house can be full this time. Now. Forbidden World. Above the fairy land. The fairy land is a world of its own. On this world, there are fairy seeds growing everywhere, and the fairy light is filled with thousands of rainbows. Immortal Cloud Peak, the highest peak of Immortal Land. The people from the Divine Moon Imperial Court have already landed here. Set up the formation. Zhou Mingxi shouted and said. Everyone is in position, holding the formation flag. Opening the grand formation on Xuanhuan Peak will open the passage between this place and the Kunlun Holy Land, and introduce the immortal seeds from the Immortal Land into the Kunlun Holy Land. The Divine Moon Imperial Court, in addition to sending people to the Immortal Land, also sent people to set up another large formation at the Kunlun Holy Land. The two large formations complement each other from a distance, attracting immortal seeds to Kunlun. Immediately, the 18 core disciples activated the formation flags. On the other side, Zi Ling was lowering her head to paint. This time, the way she painted was very strange. Her left and right hands painted at the same time. The palm phoenix quill is held in the right hand, and what is drawn in the pen is all kinds of immortal species within millions of miles around Xuanhuan Peak. In her left hand, she cut off a strand of her own hair, twisted it into a paintbrush, and quickly copied the painting she drew with her right hand. She even bit off the fingers of her left hand and used the blood as ink. Her left and right hands moved forward at the same time, her speed was very fast, and her brush was flowing like clouds and water. There was already a thin drop of sweat on the tip of her beautiful nose. No one noticed that as she painted, every blade of grass, tree, and flower within a million miles away seemed to be affected by some mysterious power and entered the world that Huang Yu had painted. Then, she copied the content of the painting on the right with a brush made of a strand of hair. When the brush on the left was painted, it seemed that the surrounding space of millions of miles was affected by the projection of the picture in the painting under Zi Ling's left hand. She quietly drew millions of immortal species into the painting with a phoenix feather pen. Then, with the help of his own blood, he painted millions of immortal species out of thin air. In this way, the real fairy seeds are all in the painting on her right. At this moment, the fairy seeds within 1,000,000 miles have been replaced by her, which is just the interpretation of a drop of her blood. This is the purpose of her coming here. Now that darkness has set the stage for the creation of the world, then she replaced the real fairy seed with a false fairy seed. Change the day. Finally, her brush came down. On the other side, the 18 core disciples of Yuding have already activated the formation. When no one was paying attention, Zi Ling shook slightly. In the paintings she painted with blood, the images she copied seemed to have become real symbols, quietly integrated into the formation. As her paintings trembled, those sacred elixirs and immortal seeds suddenly poured into the formation within 1,000,000 miles around, entering the passage opened by the formation. At the same time, on the holy soil, Junior Brother Lin, why aren't you healed yet? The only thing missing is your formation. The energy of the holy source is about to descend on Lianji Mountain. A group of people from the Liang Imperial Court in Sun Continent have already set up a large formation on the holy soil. Over at Yuding, they went to realize the scattering of immortal seeds in the Kunlun realm, and they came here to fulfill another sentence prophesied by Master Tiao. The holy source flows into Lianji Mountain. A large formation was set up to push the holy origin qi into Lianji Mountain in the center of Kunlun. Lin Zhujian smiled and said, "It'll be all right soon, don't panic." As he spoke, he quickly drew a series of spiritual talismans with the Vulcan pen. Those spiritual talismans suddenly changed unpredictably, seeming to control all the surrounding holy source energy. His Dao scenery quietly unfolded a corner, and all the holy origin qi poured into his Dao scenery. Then, his spiritual talisman turned into a stream of holy origin qi, and merged into the great formation of the Emperor's Court of the Burning Sunday, flowing through the formation to the forbidden world below. Now, the junction of Taiyang continent and Taiyang continent is the holy land of Kunlun. This is a world that has been covered in dust. From ancient times to the present, and since the death of the Taiyang Empress and the ancient Sun Emperor, no one has ever set foot in it. And today, a vision came from heaven. On the vast fairy land, on the top of the vast holy land, suddenly the Milky Way fell. Immortal seeds are scattered in the Kunlun realm, and holy sources flow into Lianji Mountain. The dusty holy land of Kunlun suddenly shines brightly today, with rainbow light filling the sky, attracting the attention of people all over the world. That's it for today, good night.